How do you tell people about your special interest or your new special interest? Well, that's a really good question, and I honestly was not sure until a few days ago. I very slowly learned how to read the room. To start, I would see if somebody was interested in speaking to me. Instead of being like, hey, by the way, this is the Hollywood Tower Hotel. I am like, hey, I'm Simon. What's the name? We exchange pleasantries, and then I eventually ask, oh, by the way, do you happen to be a Disney fan? Oh, have you been to Disney World? If so, we just start casually talking about our Disney World vacations, and what our favorite rides are. Then that's when I feel comfortable mentioning the Hollywood Tower Hotel, and telling how I became interested with that one attraction. If that person seems to be receptive and continues asking me questions, I elaborate. If not, and if they start nodding their head like, I just tend to pivot subjects or say, oh, hey, have you been to any other theme parks? Or is there anything that interests you? This way I can gauge if somebody wants to completely indulge in my interest or would rather leave it to a casual conversation. Another tip I learned is how to actually tell if somebody will be friendly or hostile toward my interest. If somebody's like, not really talking to me, or just giving off to the not really interested in what you're saying energy, I just tend to say, yeah, I like Disney World, leave it at that, move on. Especially in professional settings, and especially if I'm meeting somebody for the very first time, or if I'm receiving professional help by somebody, I'm not really telling any of these people my interests whatsoever. This way they can provide the help or support that I need without feeling bogged down by my needs or interests, and therefore we can keep the conversation moving. Lastly, when it comes to gauging if somebody would like to talk about my interest or not, is I actually see if they make ableist remarks. One thing that really sticks out to me is if somebody's like, well, Simon, you don't look that autistic, and Simon, to be very nice, if you were to say that you're autistic, well, I wouldn't even tell, or I wouldn't even notice. I know people who are way worse off than you, and I'm like, keep my lips zipped. Another thing I listen very carefully for before divulging into my interest is if somebody's like, well, Simon, I know somebody who's autistic and you must be just like them. Well, they love the toy trucks, and they go into and they continue going into these cliche shades about how autistics need support, how autistics need people to actually be in their corner, and how all autistics need somebody, a safe space in person. Usually, these are the types of people who I run from. Those who make overgeneralizations without actually asking questions or trying to get to understand me. Overall, this is how I can tell who is safe to speak to about my special interest and who I should keep my lips zipped. Well, if you enjoyed what you heard from an autistic perspective, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to Somewhere with Simon for even more autism advocacy content. And we'll see you in the next video. Woo!